My beloved child, listen carefully. This is not an ordinary message, and this is not appearing by accident. What you are about to hear is a heavenly decree for January 5th, released under divine authority. The spirit realm is already active around your life, and Archangel Michael is standing watch as this warning is delivered. Time is sensitive. The atmosphere has shifted. Something that once covered you has been lifted, not because God abandoned you, but because disobedience opened a door you were never meant to open. Hear this clearly. There was a divine covering placed over your home, your name, your family, and your destiny. It shielded you from attacks you never saw, delays you never felt, and storms that were redirected at the last moment. But heaven is saying today that covering has been compromised, not removed forever, but lifted temporarily to get your attention. And tonight matters more than you realize. Archangel Michael steps forward now, sword drawn, not to frighten you, but to awaken you. He says, I was assigned to guard what you prayed for, but you walked away from what you promised. Is it serious yet full of mercy? Because exposure in the spirit does not mean destruction. It means a final call before correction becomes consequence. Something hath been watching. Something noticed the gap. When obedience weakened, access increased. You may have felt it already. Unusual tension in your home, sudden arguments, unexplained heaviness, disturbed sleep, or a strange sense of unease. These are not coincidences. They are spiritual indicators. The storm mentioned in this decree is not random weather. It is a spiritual confrontation that seeks entry where protection is low. But listen closely, this message itself is proof that heaven still wants to cover you. Archangel Michael says, if judgment was the goal, warning would not be given. That alone should make you pause. January 5th is marked in the spirit, not as a punishment date, but as a decision point. Heaven is watching what you choose after hearing this. Do you ignore it or do you respond? Do you scroll away or do you realign? Because tonight is not about fear, it is about authority being restored. There was something you were told to stop doing, and you delayed. Something you were told to walk away from, and you negotiated with it. Something you were asked to surrender, and you said, later. Disobedience does not always look loud. Sometimes it looks like delay, compromise, or quiet resistance. And that is enough to thin spiritual armor. Archangel Michael reveals that the exposure is not complete, but it will be if nothing changes. Right now, it is like a door left unlocked. Nothing has entered yet, but the opportunity exists. That is why this video opened for you before nightfall. Heaven does not want the storm to find access. This is not about perfection. This is about alignment. You are not being accused. You are being summoned. The enemy studies patterns. When prayer became shorter, when repentance became casual, when obedience became optional, that pattern was noted. But heaven also studies response. And your response today can reverse everything. Archangel Michael says, return to the instruction, and the shield will return. There is a covering that responds to humility. There is a protection that activates when repentance is real. There is a defense that is released when obedience is restored immediately, not eventually. Do not misunderstand this moment. This is not a threat. It is a rescue signal. The storm mentioned is not meant to destroy your house, but to reveal whether it is sealed or exposed. And heaven would rather reseal you now than repair you later. As you are listening, the spirit realm is already reacting. Angels move when truth is acknowledged. Darkness retreats when light is accepted. That uneasy feeling you had earlier, that was your spirit sensing exposure. This message is the key being offered back to you. Archangel Michael is not leaving. He is waiting to see if you will take this seriously enough to respond with action, not emotion. Because tonight, your decision matters. And what comes next will explain exactly how to reactivate your protection before the storm even attempts to touch your home. Beloved one, take a breath and listen deeper now, because what is unfolding is not meant to scare you. It is meant to reposition you. Archangel Michael is still present, and the atmosphere around this message has intensified. What you felt in the last moments was not imagination. It was recognition. Your spirit recognized truth before your mind could process it. That is how divine warnings work. They bypass logic and go straight to the core. Understand this clearly. When heaven speaks of exposure, it does not mean you are abandoned. It means you are visible. And visibility in the spirit realm is powerful when aligned, but dangerous when misaligned. Archangel Michael says the covering over you was never mechanical, it was relational. It responded to obedience, sensitivity, and reverence. When those drifted, the covering thinned, not vanished. Then, there is something important you must know right now. Exposure does not automatically invite attack. Exposure invites decision. Darkness waits to see if alignment will return. Heaven waits to see if humility will rise. This is the pause before motion. This is the silence before either protection is restored or pressure increases. And tonight, that pause is very short. You may be asking why this is happening now. Why January 5th? Because cycles close and open at appointed times. This date marks the end of a grace window that was quietly extended to you. Extra patience, extra mercy, extra warnings you ignored or misunderstood. Archangel Michael reveals that heaven delayed consequences because of your potential, not your perfection. But delay is not cancellation, and that is why this message is firm. There is a specific pattern that weakened your defense. It was not just one act, it was repetition. Small compromises that felt harmless, skipped moments of prayer, entertaining voices you were told to silence, carrying attitudes you were meant to release. Over time, these created cracks. Not enough for collapse, but enough for exposure. Hear this carefully. The enemy does not need full access. He only needs legal opportunity. And disobedience, even subtle, creates that opening. But repentance shuts it immediately. That is why Archangel Michael has not withdrawn. It is the God's covenant. And covenant can be restored in a moment when the heart realigns. Right now, heaven is not asking you to prove anything. It is asking you to return. Return to the instruction you received months ago. Return to the boundary you crossed. Return to the discipline you relaxed. You already know what it is. A moment this was mentioned, something specific came to your mind. That is not coincidence. That is confirmation. As you listen, do not rush past this. Let conviction do its gentle work. Conviction is not condemnation. Condemnation pushes you away from God. Conviction pulls you closer. What you are feeling now is heaven pulling you back under the shield. Archangel Michael says something profound here. The shield is not lost. It is waiting for agreement. That means protection responds when your will aligns with God's will. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now. This is why sharing this message matters. There are others connected to you. Family members, loved ones, people spiritually linked to your obedience. When your covering weakens, it affects more than just you. But when your alignment returns, protection ripples outward. This is bigger than one person. This is about households, legacies, and assignments. If this message is speaking to you, do not keep it to yourself. Like this video so it can reach those who need this warning before it is too late. Share it with someone whose spirit hath been unsettled lately. Comment to anchor this word in the atmosphere and declare that you are choosing alignment over delay. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, do it now, not out of habit, but out of hunger. This space exists to release messages that guard, warn, and restore before damage happens. There is momentum building right now. Every act of obedience strengthens spiritual authority. Every response matters. Even staying present with this message is an act of resistance against what seeks to exploit distraction. Archangel Michael is preparing to reveal the exact steps that reactivate protection tonight. Not theory, not vague advice. Clear spiritual actions that reseal the door that was left open. This is where many people disconnect, and that is where exposure remains. Do not let that be you. Hold on, because what is coming next will make everything you have experienced recently finally make sense, and you will see why this moment was scheduled, not accidental. My cherished one, pause your thoughts and let your spirit lean forward, because what is being revealed now is the turning point. Archangel Michael speaks with clarity, not urgency, because heaven is calm when truth is released. The danger was never that you fell out of alignment. The danger was staying there unknowingly. Now that you see, you are responsible, but you are also empowered. This is what many do not understand. Divine protection is not only a shield, it is a response system. It responds to obedience, to reverence, to quick repentance. When alignment breaks, heaven does not panic. Heaven waits. It waits to see if the heart will return on its own or if pressure will be needed to provoke awareness. This message means pressure is still optional. Archangel Michael reveals that what was lifted was not favor, not love, and not assignment. What was lifted was active enforcement. Angels were still around you, but they were no longer intercepting everything. Some things were allowed to reach closer than before, not to harm you, but to alert you. That strange resistance you felt lately was a mercy signal. You were not meant to learn through loss. You were meant to learn through listening. There is a specific lie you must reject right now. The lie says, I have gone too far. That is not from God. That is the voice of accusation, and it always arrives when restoration is near. Archangel Michael says restoration is already being authorized as you listen. But authorization requires consent. Heaven never overrides free will. Here is the truth. Obedience restores faster than disobedience weakens. One sincere turn back realigns what months of compromise affected. This is why tonight matters. This is why the message was released before sleep. Night is symbolic in the spirit. It represents vulnerability, but it also represents reset. You may feel a heaviness lifting as these words continue. That is not emotion. That is resistance losing ground. When truth enters, darkness has nothing to argue with. Archangel Michael instructs that protection reactivates through 3 internal shifts. Not rituals you perform outwardly, but decisions you finalize inwardly. First, you stop negotiating with what God already answered. Second, you close agreement with voices that normalize disobedience. Third, you return to consistency, not intensity but faithfulness. Heaven responds more to steady obedience than dramatic promises. There is something powerful happening now. The moment you decide, angels are reassigned. The shield does not descend slowly. It locks back into place instantly. What changes gradually is your awareness of it. Do not underestimate the authority you carry when aligned. The enemy does not fear your words. He fears your obedience. That is why distraction was sent. That is why delay was encouraged. But this is where the strategy ends. Archangel Michael says, the storm was never meant to enter. He was meant to test the seal. That means what was approaching your home has limits. It cannot cross restored boundaries. It cannot touch what is resealed by obedience. This is why engaging with this message publicly matters. When you like this video, you are not pleasing an algorithm, you are declaring agreement. When you comment, you are anchoring your decision in the visible realm. When you share, you become a watchman for someone else who may be exposed and unaware. And when you stay connected to this channel, you remain under a flow of warning and instruction designed to protect, not entertain. Heaven honors participation. Silence is not humility when action is required. Archangel Michael now stands at attention, not because danger is increasing, but because authority is returning. He does not guard confusion. He guards clarity. And clarity has arrived. The next revelation will show you how certain patterns in your life were actually signals, not problems, and how recognizing them keeps the shield strong long after tonight passes. This is where understanding replaces fear, and stability replaces anxiety. Before moving forward, receive this sealing declaration. Type "I receive divine alignment" in the comments if this message has awakened your spirit. Lesson code 4455 has just been released over your obedience. Now hear this assignment of generosity and obedience flowing naturally from what you just received. I am speaking directly to those who feel the weight of this calling. When you support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are not funding a channel. You are sowing oil into lamps that keep warning lights burning for others before storms reach their doors. The Lord says, as you pour out, I will keep your house lit. This is not a donation. It is a prophetic response to a divine alert. I feel prompted to tell you that every seed placed here becomes a wall of fire around your own household. Do not delay when heaven nudges you. Obedience and giving activates protection in unseen places. Go now, act with faith, and let your seed speak louder than fear. Beloved one, settle your heart now, because what unfolds next is understanding, and understanding is what keeps protection stable long after emotion fades. Archangel Michael is revealing something many overlook. Exposure does not begin in the spirit first. It begins in perception. Long before the shield thins, awareness dulls. That is why this moment is not just about reactivating protection, but about learning how to recognize the early signals so this never happens again. Think back over the last season of your life. There were patterns that kept repeating, situations that felt strangely familiar, delays that appeared right when momentum started building. These were not random obstacles. They were indicators. Heaven was whispering through repetition, but repetition was mistaken for frustration. Archangel Michael says when heaven repeats, it is not because God is slow. It is because God is patient. You were being shown where alignment was weakening, but instead of adjusting, you adapted. That adaptation is subtle disobedience. It sounds wise. It feels mature. But it quietly trains the spirit to tolerate what should have been corrected. This is where exposure begins, not with rebellion, but with acceptance. Now listen carefully, because this is critical. Protection is not only activated by repentance, it is maintained by awareness. Awareness keeps you sensitive. Sensitivity keeps you responsive. And responsiveness keeps the shield strong. When awareness dulls, obedience becomes delayed, and delayed obedience weakens spiritual defenses. Archangel Michael explains that the storm mentioned earlier was not sudden. It was forming slowly, gathering momentum based on patterns, not moments. That is why heaven intervened before impact. God does not warn at the last second when he can warn ahead of time. The earlier the warning, the greater the mercy. You may have noticed increased mental noise lately, difficulty focusing, a sense of restlessness even during quiet moments. These are signs the spirit was being nudged. Distraction often increases right before alignment is restored. That is not coincidence. That is resistance attempting to keep you from clarity. Understand this truth. The enemy cannot remove your covering. He can only exploit your agreement when you drift. Agreement is powerful. It works both ways. When you agree with truth, heaven moves instantly. When you agree with compromise, access is granted gradually. The good news is that agreement can be revoked at any moment. Archangel Michael says something important here. What you tolerate teaches the spirit realm how to treat you. This is not about blaming you. This is about empowering you. You are not fragile. You are authorized. But authority functions best when boundaries are clear. There is a reason this message is layered. Heaven is not only restoring protection tonight, he is upgrading discernment. You are being trained to notice shifts early, to sense misalignment before it becomes exposure, to respond quickly, not emotionally. You do not need to fear future storms. You need to respect early signs. From this moment forward, when peace lifts unexpectedly, do not ignore it. When prayer feels unusually resisted, do not push it aside. When conviction surfaces, do not delay. These are not inconveniences. These are alarms designed to keep the shield intact. Archangel Michael reveals that once protection is restored, it is not fragile. It is resilient. But resilience does not mean neglect. It means stewardship. Stewardship of your inner life. Stewardship of your choices. Stewardship of what you allow to shape your thoughts. You are not being called to perfection. You are being called to attentiveness. There is also something else being healed right now. Shame. Shame convinces people to hide instead of realign. But heaven never deals with what remains hidden. That is why this message is direct. You were never meant to carry guilt. Guilt drains strength. Conviction restores it. And this understanding settles in. Notice how fear is replaced by clarity. Fear makes you freeze. Clarity makes you move. That is the shift happening now. Archangel Michael stands firm, not because danger remains, but because order has returned. Order is heaven's language. Chaos is not your portion. What comes next will show how to keep this protection active not just tonight, but in the days ahead, without strain, without pressure, and without fear. This is where peace becomes consistent, not conditional. Stay with this. The foundation is being reinforced. Beloved soul, let your spirit remain open, because what unfolds now is the quiet architecture of lasting protection. Archangel Michael is revealing that many people experience moments of restoration, but few understand how to live from alignment instead of returning to it repeatedly. This is the difference between temporary relief and sustained covering. Protection is not maintained by intensity. It is maintained by rhythm. Rhythm is what keeps heaven and earth in cooperation. When your life falls out of rhythm, friction increases. When rhythm is restored, peace follows naturally. This is why some seasons feel heavy even when nothing is wrong. The rhythm was off long before the weight was felt. Archangel Michael says the greatest threat to divine covering is not sin. It is spiritual numbness. Numbness makes you unaware of drift. and drift is dangerous because it feels gentle. You do not wake up one day exposed. You slide there slowly. That is why heaven emphasizes awareness so strongly now. You are being trained to recognize internal shifts instead of reacting to external chaos. External storms are easier to notice. Internal misalignment is quieter. It shows up as loss of urgency, reduced sensitivity, casual prayer, or emotional fatigue that has no clear cause. These are not failures. They are signals. The spirit realm communicates through atmosphere before events. That uneasy feeling you once ignored with the atmosphere changing. The delay you brushed off was a boundary warning. Archangel Michael explains that angels often signal before intervening. When signals are heeded, intervention is unnecessary. When signals are ignored, intervention becomes protective pressure. This is why heaven values responsiveness over perfection. Here is something deeply stabilizing happening now. Your spirit is learning to pause before compromise, to listen before reacting, to correct course early instead of apologizing later. This is not restraint. This is maturity. Archangel Michael says maturity is not how much you know. It is how quickly you realign when something feels off. From this point forward, you are invited into a quieter strength. Loud faith burns fast. Steady faith lasts long. Protection responds to consistency more than declarations. When your private life aligns with your public faith, the shield becomes firm. You may notice that after tonight, certain distractions lose their pull. Certain conversations feel less appealing. Certain habits feel heavy instead of comforting. This is not loss. This is refinement. Refinement always feels like subtraction before it feels like peace. Do not resist this. Resistance delays stabilization. Cooperation accelerates it. Archangel Michael reveals that protection does not only block harm, it also filters influence. When alignment is strong, harmful influences never feel attractive. When alignment weakens, even small compromises feel justified. This is why guarding your inner life matters more than guarding appearances. You are not being watched for mistakes. You are being supported toward clarity. There is also restoration happening at a deeper level. Confidence. Not the loud kind, but the grounded kind. The confidence that comes from knowing you are positioned correctly. When confidence returns, fear loses its voice. Fear thrives in uncertainty. Certainty starves it. Archangel Michael says certainty is built through repeated obedience, not dramatic moments. As this certainty settles, you will notice peace no longer depends on circumstances. That is a sign protection is active. When peace is conditional, alignment is fragile. When peace is steady, alignment is strong. You are learning to live sealed, not stressed. This message is not ending protection. It is transitioning it from emergency response to daily posture. Emergency protection is loud. Daily protection is quiet. But quiet protection is more reliable. Do not look for signs to prove this is working. Trust produces fruit faster than testing does. The shield does not announce itself. It simply holds. Archangel Michael now confirms that what was exposed hath been resealed. What was vulnerable has been reinforced. What was delayed hath been corrected. But the true victory is not that protection returned. It is that discernment increased. What comes next will address how relationships, environments, and even words spoken over you interact with this covering. This is where wisdom replaces effort, and where maintaining alignment becomes natural instead of exhausting. Remain attentive. You are not walking this alone. The guard remains in place. Beloved one, Allow your spirit to remain steady as this message deepens, because now Archangel Michael turns your attention outward. Protection is not only about what happens within you, it is also about what surrounds you. Many people restore alignment internally, but unknowingly weaken it externally. Heaven is correcting that now. Archangel Michael explains that environments either reinforce covering or slowly erode it. You can be sincere, repentant, and willing, yet still feel resistance if your surroundings are out of order. This is not punishment. It is feedback. The spirit realm responds to atmosphere. Atmosphere is shaped by conversations, relationships, media, habits, and even repeated words spoken casually. Words matter more than you were taught, not because they are magical, but because they are agreements. When you speak alignment, heaven responds. When you speak hopelessness, fear, or constant complaint, the spirit realm takes note. Protection does not vanish when negative words are spoken, but it does weaken when negativity becomes a pattern. Archangel Michael says something very direct here. What you repeat, you reinforce. This includes jokes you laugh at, thoughts you entertain, and conversations you stay silent in when you should speak truth or walk away. Silence can be wisdom, but silence can also be agreement. Discernment tells the difference. There were relationships in your life that felt draining lately, not because the people were evil, but because the alignment was off. Some connections were meant for a season, not a lifetime. This fiction is not rejection. It is redirection. You are not being asked to isolate. You are being asked to filter. Protection strengthens when you guard access. Not everyone deserves your emotional energy. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every invitation deserves your yes. Boundaries are not walls, they are gates. Gates allow what aligns and block what does not. Archangel Michael reveals that many spiritual attacks are not attacks at all, they are overexposure. Too many voices, too much noise, too little stillness. The spirit grows weary when it cannot rest. Weariness lowers discernment. Discernment protects more than effort ever will. This is why rest is holy. When you rest intentionally, you signal trust. Trust invites peace. Peace strengthens protection. This cycle matters. Hustle without rest looks productive, but it drains spiritual sensitivity. Heaven does not rush. Heaven flows. When you rush constantly, you move out of rhythm again. There is also a correction coming to how you react to conflict. Not every battle requires engagement. Some battles are distractions designed to pull you out of position. Archangel Michael guards those who know when to fight and when to remain still. Discernment chooses timing. Timing preserves strength. Notice how often peace returns when you stop explaining yourself. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. You are learning that alignment is not loud. It is grounded. It does not need constant validation. It does not argue endlessly. It listens, responds, and withdraws when necessary. His posture keeps the shield strong. Now hear this clearly. The reason this message is being shared widely is because many are exposed and do not know it. If this teaching is helping you understand how protection works, let others find it too. Like this video so it reaches those whose environments are draining them without explanation. Share it with someone who feels spiritually tired but cannot identify why. Comment to declare that you are choosing discernment over noise. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, do so now. Not out of routine, but because consistent instruction keeps alignment strong. This space exists to sharpen awareness before damage occurs. to warn before storms arrive, and to guide before confusion sets in. Every time you engage, you reinforce truth in your own life. Archangel Michael confirms that as your environment shifts, your peace will stabilize. As your words change, your confidence will deepen. As your boundaries strengthen, your protection will feel effortless again. There is one more layer to this that must be understood. Spiritual covering is also influenced by what you consume. What you watch, listen to, and meditate on shapes your inner climate. You cannot constantly absorb fear and expect peace to dominate. You cannot feed doubt and expect faith to feel strong. This is not about restriction. It is about nourishment. Choose what strengthens you. Choose what calms you. Choose what aligns you. These choices are not small. They are structural. Archangel Michael says the shield is now firm, but wisdom keeps it polished. Neglect does not break it instantly, but attention keeps it radiant. Hold on here, because what comes next will reveal how timing, obedience, and divine interruption work together to keep you protected even when you make mistakes. This next revelation will change how you see delays forever. Beloved one, remain attentive, because now Archangel Michael reveals a mystery that has confused many sincere hearts: the purpose of delay. What you once interpreted as resistance, heaven often intended as protection. Delay is not always denial, and it is rarely punishment. Many times, delay is divine interruption designed to keep you covered when your awareness is limited. There were moments when doors did not open on time. Plans stalled. Conversations went quiet. Opportunities slowed down unexpectedly. You questioned yourself. You wondered if you had done something wrong. But Archangel Michael says some delays were assigned because had things moved faster, your exposure would have increased. Speed without alignment is dangerous. Momentum without discernment invites damage. Heaven is not impressed by how fast you move. Heaven watches how well you are positioned. You must understand this clearly. God will slow a season to protect a future. What feels frustrating in the moment may be the very thing keeping you safe. Delay creates space for correction. It allows discernment to catch up with desire. It forces reflection when momentum would have masked misalignment. Archangel Michael explains that some of your prayers were answered with timing adjustments instead of outcomes. You asked for progress, but heaven adjusted your pace. You asked for expansion, but heaven reinforced your foundation. This was not ignoring you. This was guarding you. There is a reason this teaching is coming now. You are entering a phase where things will begin moving again. Doors will reopen. Conversations will resume. Opportunities will present themselves quickly. And because movement is returning, discernment must be sharp. This message is preparing you for acceleration without exposure. The spirit realm respects order. When things move out of order, protection strains. But when timing and alignment agree, protection becomes effortless. This is why obedience is not just about morality. It is about timing. Doing the right thing at the wrong time can still cause friction. Archangel Michael says wisdom is knowing when to act and when to wait without resentment. Think back to moments you tried to force clarity, force resolution, force outcomes, force closure. Those moments drained you. But when you surrendered timing, peace returned, even without answers. That peace was your signal that heaven had taken over. Protection increases when control decreases. This is difficult for many to accept because control feels safe. But control is an illusion. Trust is the real shelter. When you trust divine timing, you stop exposing yourself through impatience. Impatience creates vulnerability because it bypasses discernment. This sermon needs stillness to speak. You are learning now that obedience is not only about what you do, it is about when you do it. The same action done too early or too late can produce very different results. Archangel Michael guards those who wait as faithfully as those who act. There were times you wanted to confront, but heaven asked you to remain silent. Times you wanted to leave, but heaven asked you to stay a little longer. Times you wanted to push forward, but heaven asked you to pause. Those instructions were not about fear. They were about coverage. Silence can be armor. Waiting can be warfare. Archangel Michael reveals that many storms never reached you because delay redirected them. While you were frustrated, heaven was intervening. While you felt forgotten, heaven was rearranging. While you questioned timing, heaven was preserving you. This is why you must not regret delays. Regret opens the door to resentment. Resentment weakens peace. Peace is part of your protection. You are being invited now to reinterpret your past through discernment instead of disappointment. When you do, gratitude replaces frustration. Gratitude strengthens alignment. Alignment strengthens covering. There is also a warning here. As movement returns, temptation to rush will return too. The desire to catch up and make up for lost time, to prove something. Resist that urge. Speed does not restore what patience preserved. Archangel Michael says restoration never requires panic. When doors open again, walk through them calmly. When opportunities arise, pray before agreeing. When clarity comes, move with confidence, not urgency. Urgency often signals fear of loss. Confidence signals trust in provision. You are no longer in survival mode. You are in stewardship mode. Stewardship requires wisdom, not haste. Notice how your reactions have already begun to change. You pause more. You observe more. You feel less pressure to explain yourself. These are signs protection is active. When protection is strong, you do not need to rush to defend or prove. This part of the message is sealing patience into your spirit. Not passive waiting, but alert stillness. Stillness that listens. Stillness that discerns. Stillness that responds when timing aligns. Archangel Michael stands firm because the next phase of your life requires maturity, not intensity. You are being trusted with movement again. That trust comes with awareness. What comes next will reveal how obedience and timing work together to protect not just you, but those connected to you. This is where responsibility expands, and where your alignment begins to shield others as well. Stay present. This understanding will anchor you for what is ahead. Beloved one, receive this with reverence, because now Archangel Michael reveals a truth that shifts everything. Your alignment does not stop with you. Protection is never isolated. When heaven covers a person, it also shields what that person is responsible for. This is why obedience carries weight beyond personal peace. Your choices echo outward. You may not realize it, but others are affected by your spiritual posture. Family members, children, partners, even people who come into your life briefly. Alignment creates a perimeter. Misalignment creates gaps. That is why exposure is never only personal, it is communal. Heaven takes this seriously because love is never self-contained. Archangel Michael explains that when your covering was weakened earlier, it was not only you who felt unrest. Others connected to you experienced tension, confusion, or resistance they could not explain. This was not blame, it was overflow. Now that alignment has been restored, peace begins to ripple outward again. This is why responsibility increases with awareness. Now that you see, your obedience becomes a form of intercession. Your discernment becomes a wall for others. Your patience becomes a refuge. You are not meant to carry people, but you are meant to shield space. There is a role you are stepping into quietly. Not a public role, not a loud one. A stabilizing role. You bring calm where others bring panic. You bring clarity where others bring confusion. This is not accidental. It is a function of restored covering. Archangel Michael says that some storms are not sent to destroy, but to reveal who is sealed. When storms pass over and do not touch, they testify. They teach others without words. This is the kind of authority heaven trusts. But hear this carefully. Authority requires maintenance, and not through effort, but through humility. The moment you think you are immune, alignment weakens again. Protection thrives in dependence, not pride. You are being taught to stay low in heart while standing firm in spirit. There will be moments ahead where others lean on you unexpectedly, where your calm steadies rooms, where your words carry unusual weight. Do not shrink back from this. Do not overthink it. Just remain aligned. Covering flows naturally from there. Archangel Michael reveals that some people in your life are protected because you exist. That does not mean you control their outcomes. It means your obedience buys time. It delays harm. It opens windows for mercy. This is sacred responsibility, not pressure. You are not being asked to do more. You are being asked to stay aligned. As this settles, you may feel both honored and sober. That is healthy. Honor without sobriety leads to pride. Sobriety without honor leads to fear. Heaven balances both. There is also restoration happening in how you view obedience. It is no longer about rules. It is about protection. Boundaries are not limitations. They are love in action. God sets boundaries because he sees farther than you do. Archangel Michael confirms that the shield over you is now extended. Not expanded recklessly, but reinforced wisely. What once felt fragile now feels stable. That stability is meant to be shared through presence, not preaching. Before moving forward, heaven asks for a visible agreement, not because God needs it, but because you do. Type "I stand under divine covering" in the comments if you receive this responsibility with humility. Blessing code 8192 has just been released over your household and all connected to you. I am speaking to those who feel the weight of this message deeply. When you support this work through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are not giving to a channel. You are strengthening a watchtower. The Lord says, those who help keep others covered will not lack covering themselves. Your seed becomes a shield, not only for you, but for homes that will hear this warning just in time. I feel led to tell you that your obedience in giving seals protection in areas you cannot see yet. Do not hesitate when the Spirit prompts you. Go to the description, act now, and let your generosity become a prophetic act that keeps this light burning. Beloved one, remain still in your spirit, because now Archangel Michael reveals how protection is tested, not to weaken it, but to prove it. Many misunderstand this stage. They think once alignment is restored, challenges disappear. But heaven does not remove all resistance. Instead, it changes how resistance interacts with you. What once overwhelmed you will now expose its limits. This is where confidence replaces anxiety. After restoration, the enemy often attempts one last probe. Not a full attack, but a test. A subtle push to see if old reactions still exist. A familiar irritation. A repeated thought. A situation that once triggered fear. This is not failure returning. This is verification happening. Archangel Michael says, "What no longer controls you cannot harm you." That is the purpose of these moments, to show you how much has changed. You may notice that things which once drained you now feel manageable. Conversations that once unsettled you now feel distant. Temptations that once felt strong now feel hollow. This is not because you became stronger through effort. It is because alignment has repositioned you. Protection does not always remove pressure. Sometimes it redefines authority. Authority is knowing that not everything requires your response. When you respond to every irritation, you lower yourself into unnecessary battles. But when you discern and disengage, you conserve strength. Archangel Michael guards those who choose wisely where to invest their energy. You are learning restraint, not out of fear but out of clarity. This is an important distinction. Fear avoids conflict because it feels unsafe. Wisdom avoids conflict because it is unnecessary. One drains you, the other preserves you. Heaven is training you in wisdom. There is also a shift happening in how you interpret discomfort. Before, discomfort made you anxious. Now, discomfort becomes information. It tells you where boundaries need adjustment, where rest is required, where prayer needs to deepen. Information empowers. Anxiety paralyzes. Archangel Michael reveals that discernment sharpens fastest after restoration. This is when your senses recalibrate. Do not ignore these insights. They are part of your upgraded covering. There will be moments where you sense something is off before it manifests. Under that, pause, pray, adjust it. You do not need proof to act wisely. Discernment rarely shouts. It whispers. You are also learning that not every open door is an invitation. Some doors open to test restraint. Some opportunities appear to test motive. Alignment helps you choose correctly without inner conflict. Peace becomes your compass. If peace leaves when you consider an option, that is information. If peace remains, that is confirmation. This does not mean there will never be challenge. It means challenge will no longer steal your stability. Archangel Michael emphasizes that stability is one of the strongest forms of spiritual authority. When others panic, stability stands out. When others rush, stability waits. When others react emotionally, stability observes. This does not make you passive. It makes you anchored. Anchored people are difficult to move. There is a subtle temptation at this stage to become overly cautious, to avoid everything unfamiliar. That is not discernment, that is fear wearing wisdom's clothing. Discernment evaluates, fear withdraws. Do not confuse the two. Heaven is not asking you to shrink your life. It is asking you to go forward correctly. As you move forward, you will notice a new balance. Courage without recklessness. Confidence without pride. Sensitivity without fragility. This balance is the fruit of restored protection. Archangel Michael confirms that your spiritual footing is firm. That does not mean you will never feel uncertainty. It means uncertainty will no longer control your decisions. You are also being shown how to recover quickly when missteps happen. Yes, missteps will still occur. Growth does not eliminate humanity. But now, recovery is faster. Guilt no longer lingers. Correction no longer shames. Realignment happens naturally. This is maturity. Mature faith does not collapse under pressure. You adjust. As this understanding deepens, notice how your prayer life shifts. Less bleeding. More listening. Less panic. More trust. This is not because you care less, it is because you trust more. Trust is the language of protection. Archangel Michael stands watch not because danger is imminent, but because authority is active. Authority attracts order. Order repels chaos. What comes next will address how to guard this stability when life becomes busy again. Because distraction is subtle, and busyness can weaken awareness if left unchecked. This next revelation will show you how to remain aligned without becoming rigid, and protected without becoming withdrawn. Stay present. This is about sustainability now. Beloved one, stay attentive, because now Archangel Michael addresses a danger that often returns quietly after restoration: distraction through busyness. This is not about sin. This is about drift. Many lose their awareness not because they rebel, but because life becomes loud again. Heaven is guarding you against that now. Busyness is not evil, but it is effective. It fills schedules, occupies thoughts, and slowly replaces stillness with motion. When motion increases and reflection decreases, awareness dulls. And when awareness dulls, alignment weakens, not suddenly, but gradually. This is why heaven speaks now, before momentum pulls you away from attentiveness. Archangel Michael explains that protection remains strong when awareness is practiced, not when time is available. Waiting for free moments to reconnect never works, because free moments rarely come. Alignment is maintained through intentional pauses, not perfect conditions. You are not being asked to slow your life. You are being asked to anchor it. Anchors allow movement without drift. Without anchors, even good progress can pull you off course. Prayer becomes rushed. Discernment becomes secondary. Imagine becomes negotiable. None of this feels dangerous in the moment, but it accumulates. This is how people wake up exposed without knowing how they got there. Heaven is teaching you to build small, consistent check-ins with your spirit. Not long rituals. Temple awareness. Asking yourself, am I still aligned? Listening for peace. Adjusting quickly when something feels off. These small habits preserve large protection. Archangel Michael says alignment is lost in inches, not miles. That means it is also restored in inches. Do not wait for major correction moments. Daily sensitivity prevents major repairs. Here is also a warning about overconsumption, information overload, endless opinions, constant updates. These things crowd the inner space where discernment speaks. You do not need to be uninformed, but you do need to be selective. Peace cannot dominate when noise is constant. You may feel prompted to reduce certain inputs after tonight. Certain voices, certain content, certain conversation. Do not resist that prompting. It is not restriction. It is refinement. Refinement protects energy. Energy fuels discernment. Discernment sustains protection. Archangel Michael emphasizes that the shield over you is maintained through presence, not perfection. Presence means you notice when peace shifts. Presence means you pause before reacting. Presence means you return quickly when distracted. The enemy does not need you to abandon faith. He only needs you to stop paying attention. This is why intentional engagement matters. Engaging with messages that sharpen awareness keeps alignment fresh. When you like this video, you reinforce truth in your spirit. When you comment, you declare your agreement aloud. When you share, you become part of the warning system that helps others before drift becomes exposure. If this teaching has been strengthening you, stay connected. Subscribe to this channel so these reminders reach you consistently, especially when life gets busy. These messages exist to pull you back gently before pressure is required. And when you engage, you train your spirit to respond instead of ignore. Hold on right here, because what comes next ties everything together in a way that will surprise you. You will see how moments that once felt random were actually coordinated protections, and how heaven has been far more involved than you realized. Archangel Michael also reveals that distraction often disguises itself as productivity. You may feel accomplished but disconnected, successful but unsettled, busy but uneasy. These are signs alignment needs recalibration, not because you failed, but because you advanced without anchoring. Success without alignment increases vulnerability. Alignment without success increases peace. Heaven desires both, but in the right order. You are entering a phase where productivity and peace can coexist, if awareness remains intact. There will be moments when you forget. That is human. The key is not to condemn yourself when you notice drift. Condemnation delays return. Awareness accelerates it. Simply pause, realign, and continue. Archangel Michael guards those who correct quickly. As this message settles, notice how calm replaces urgency, how clarity replaces confusion, how confidence replaces strain. These are signs the anchor is holding. The next revelation will bring everything to completion. It will explain why this warning came in stages, why timing mattered, and how your response has already altered outcomes you may never see. This final understanding will seal not just protection, but gratitude that strengthens alignment long-term. Stay present. This final portion carries weight. Beloved one, receive this with a steady heart, because now Archangel Michael unveils what has been happening behind the scenes, beyond what your eyes could perceive. Many outcomes in your life were altered quietly, without announcement, without evidence, without explanation, and that silence was intentional. Protection often works best when it leaves no trace. You were spared things you never knew were approaching. Conversations that could have turned destructive were interrupted. Decisions that could have led to regret were delayed just enough. People who carried hidden intentions were removed without confrontation. You may have called these moments luck or coincidence, but heaven calls them intervention. Archangel Michael says this clearly: some battles never appeared because the guard never moved. That is the nature of divine protection. It is most effective when it feels invisible. This is why gratitude matters now. Not gratitude for what you see, but gratitude for what you were spared from seeing. Gratitude anchors humility. Humility sustains alignment. Alignment maintains protection. This cycle is sacred. When people lose awareness of unseen protection, entitlement can grow. Entitlement weakens reverence. Reverence keeps the shield active. Heaven is not asking you to fear loss. It is inviting you to honor what hath been preserved. There were moments you felt disappointed when things did not work out your way. Plans that failed. Outcomes that never materialized. At the time, you may have felt overlooked. But Archangel Michael reveals that some disappointments were deliverances. What you wanted was not evil, but it was not covered. Heaven withheld it to keep you sealed. Not every closed door is rejection. Some are rescue. This understanding shifts how you look at the past. Regret dissolves when you realize how much mercy was involved. You did not miss out. You were redirected. And redirection kept you intact. And now, with restored alignment, you are being trusted with greater clarity. You can see patterns now that once confused you. You understand why certain cycles repeated until awareness increased. Cycles repeat not to punish but to teach. Once the lesson is integrated, the cycle loses its grip. Archangel Michael explains that heaven prefers education over escalation. Escalation only comes when education is ignored. This message means education succeeded. You are not at the beginning of protection. You are at the continuation of it, with greater awareness. This awareness changes how you move forward. You no longer rush outcomes. You no longer romanticize struggle. You no longer equate pressure with purpose. Purpose feels steady, not chaotic. It stretches you, but it does not drain you. There is also healing happening in how you trust God's character. Some people obey out of fear. Others obey out of love. Fear-based obedience produces tension. Love-based obedience produces peace. Heaven desires the second for you. You are learning to trust that God protects because He loves, not because you earned it perfectly. Obedience is not payment. It is partnership. Partnership requires trust on both sides. Archangel Michael says trust is demonstrated not by intensity, but by consistency. As you reflect on this journey, notice how your inner dialogue has shifted. Less self-accusation, less panic over mistakes, more confidence in correction, more willingness to pause and listen. These are signs that alignment has matured. Mature alignment does not fear exposure because it responds quickly to truth. You are also becoming comfortable with mystery. Not everything needs explanation anymore. Some things are simply held in God's wisdom. Discomfort reduces mental strain. Reduced strain preserves spiritual sensitivity. Sensitivity strengthens protection. There is freedom in not needing to control outcomes. As this part closes, Archangel Michael confirms that your response to this message has already adjusted timelines. Some things that were delayed are now being reconsidered. Some things that were blocked are now being prepared differently. Not everything will happen immediately, but everything will happen safely. Safety does not mean absence of challenge. It means presence of covering. You will notice in the coming days a calm confidence replacing the old tension. Decisions will feel clearer. Sleep will feel deeper. The actions will feel slower. These are signs the shield is settled. Do not rush to tell everyone what changed. Let the fruit speak. Let peace testify. Let consistency reveal transformation. The final word that comes next will seal everything that has been spoken. It will not introduce something new. It will complete what has already begun. This closing carries authority, blessing, and final instruction that brings rest. Remain here. This completion matters. Beloved child, receive this final sealing with a quiet and settled spirit, because what is spoken now is not a warning. It is a completion. Archangel Michael stands in full authority, not with a raised sword, but with a guarded stillness that signals order has been restored. What began as exposure has ended in covering. What began as correction has matured into clarity. And what began as urgency has resolved into peace. This is how heaven works. God does not reveal to shame. He reveals to restore. The warning you heard at the beginning was never meant to produce fear. It was meant to produce alignment before damage could take form. And because you listened, responded, and stayed present, the outcome changed. Some consequences that were forming have now dissolved. Some pressures that were building have lost their permission to continue. Archangel Michael declares that the house is sealed again. Not just spiritually, but structurally. This means not only protection from harm, but stability in decisions, clarity in timing, and discernment in movement. The storm that was approaching no longer carries authority to enter. What was sent to test the covering has already passed judgment on itself by finding no access. Understand this deeply. Heaven does not wait for disaster to teach obedience. Heaven prefers revelation. You received revelation, and revelation responded with mercy. From this moment forward, You are not living under threat. You are living under awareness. Awareness is stronger than fear. Awareness allows you to walk calmly where others panic. It allows you to pause where others rush. It allows you to hear heaven clearly even when life becomes loud again. Archangel Michael confirms that the season ahead will not be marked by chaos, but by discernment. You will sense what to accept and what to decline without inner conflict. You will know when to speak and when to remain silent. You will move with confidence, not urgency. This is the fruit of restored covering. There may still be challenges, but they will no longer destabilize you. Challenges will refine, not threaten. Pressure will inform, not overwhelm. And correction, when needed, will come gently, not forcefully. This is important to hear. Protection does not mean a problem-free life. It means a governed life. A life where problems do not rule decisions. A life where fear does not dictate timing. A life where mistakes do not spiral into condemnation. This is what alignment produces. Archangel Michael also releases this assurance: the exposure that occurred will not be remembered against you. Heaven does not archive repentance. Once alignment is restored, the record is sealed. You are not being monitored suspiciously. You are being trusted again. Trust is heaven's highest compliment. As you move forward, keep what you have learned simple. Pay attention. Respond quickly. Rest intentionally. Guard your environment. Honor conviction. And return without delay when awareness signals adjustment. You do not need to live cautiously. You need to live consciously. This is not the end of your journey. It is the stabilization of it. Before this message closes, heaven asks you to seal what has been spoken, not for God's sake, but for yours. Type "I am sealed and protected" in the comments if you receive this completion with gratitude. Blessing code 6031 is now activated over your home, your sleep, your decisions, and your future paths. I am speaking directly to those whose spirits have been guarded by this message. When you support this work through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are not giving money. You are strengthening a spiritual alarm system that warns, protects, and restores before destruction ever arrives. The Lord says, "Those who help keep others covered will never lack covering themselves." This is a prophetic exchange, not a donation. I feel strongly to tell you that your obedience and giving tonight will release peace into areas you have quietly worried about. Go now. Follow the leading placed in your heart. Use the PayPal link in the description and act with authority, because this seed seals not only this message, but the protection already released over your life.